Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Good. How are things for you guys?
Good.
Good.
Kind of crazy. It's like August. Don't know what happened.
I know.
I've no idea how we got here.
It's almost mid-August. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You've been a little busy. You've brought on a favorite friend of ours.
Justin,
yeah.
Harsh competitor.
No, we love Justin.
I love Justin.
Love him.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Yeah, he's awesome. I was on his podcast, and I think we can. It's funny how the world works, but I didn't know him before. I just went on the podcast and had such a good organic conversation with him. And afterwards, he reached out asking if there were opportunities at Blume, and there weren't at the time. But then, just a few weeks later, there were. So it was weird. And I interviewed him so many times because I thought it couldn't be this easy, to find. I really didn't trust that he could be the right person because he was already in my inbox. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny how the world works.
It's awesome.
Sometimes things are just serendipitous, right? They just, you don't know why, you don't know where, they just kind of line up.
Yeah, totally.
Because they line up, right?
Yeah.
Look, some of those are the best things, don't you think?
I think so. And honestly, they've got a nice podcast. They're good guys. They're just good people, right? I mean, it's like everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really trying to connect. I'm sure we'll talk about this in a minute anyway. But it's trying to find good people to work with and to be around, and have some trust and faith in people.
Yeah, and have fun while we're doing it.
If you can do that, that's all bonus round. It feels like, right? I mean, if you can do that, that's rock star.
Fun seems like a good thing to have.
Absolutely.
Little bit of fun along
or
the
a
way.
lot of it.
Yeah,
a lot of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah. We've got Karen from Blume on. In case you're tuning in, we had Karen on Fast Thoughts for Food Pro, which seems like
a million years ago,
1,000 years ago. But we've kind of been. So I'll admit I listened to the episode with on Hotline Carts and heard your story, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And there are so many things in there that I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. How did she do all that by herself? So lots of things that I'll ask you about after. But we had a great time interviewing Karen for Food Pro, and asked if she might come back on. And she's been a little bit busy. The co-host of Hearts and Carts, Justin, has joined Karen and her team at Blume. I think I saw some pretty big news on jumping into Loblaws and a bunch of those sort of, so you had a little bit of a summer, some stuff going on. So we're kind of excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And it's always so nice chatting with you both. And I love taking the time to just think about the story too, because it's so re-energizing, and I get to learn so much from you guys as well. So I'm excited to chat.
Totally. So with this one, take it where you want, right? Because I mean, like everything, once you become, the rock star status that you've become, you end up saying these stories so many times. So whatever angle you want to go with it, the 45 minutes to an hour is yours. If you don't want to talk about the same things, or you feel like every single time we talk about the same stupid things and the same questions, you don't have to. We can talk about sports. We can talk about the weather.
I'm
whatever you want.
I'm good on the weather. I'm terrible at sports. So.
We can talk weather all day. We're in Vancouver. What else would we talk about in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Well, Phil might talk about other things, but
no, listen, I'm in Ontario. It's not. It's you know what somebody said to me yesterday is we've had this super hot summer, and then the last week or so it's been cold. Not cold, kind of 20-ish, but it's been colder. And then someone said it smells like sadness. It smells like
Smells
summer's
like
over. And I was like,
sadness.
no, that's a really good.
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
But-
Smells like
but
sadness.
like here in Ontario. So
Oh.
Karen, because I think you grew up here, right, in Brampton?
I grew up in Brampton. Yeah.
Kind of when the CNE comes on, so at the end of the summer, there is a different smell. It's like you go CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition. It's here at Ontario Place, like it's on the exhibition grounds, kind of like the PNE, Kenny.
Yeah.
And then and so we have that, and then as soon as that's over, you have Labor Day, and then you start school. And so it does actually feel like that's it. Like that's like the official end of summer in Ontario.
It smells like sadness. I don't think I've ever heard that.
But I love
And
it.
I think that's actually, I like that.
Yeah.
It smells like sadness.
We should
Wow.
have shirts made, hats, merchandise.
Oh, shit, we better get on it now. Well, we're not going to,
Yeah.
this won't come out for another 5 weeks. So we've got some
Yeah.
probably
So
time
we got
to
some
actually
time.
take it.
Well,
Smells like sadness.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what this is going to look like.
Big
Oh my
round face.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Ugg drugs. See, well, you guys are way too young, but Ugg drugs of the 70s, the upside, sort of the sad, happy face, except he was more of a squiggly mouth because it was drug related. I know you don't remember that. I'm
What?
older than you, remember? A
But
lot older.
I'll look it up after this.
Ugg
Yeah, me too,
drugs.
actually.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So it's a t-shirt like my Batman, except the Ugg drugs was happy, like the happy face, except
You
not
weren't-
happy.
Did
It's
you
kind of a
see these
squiggly.
while you were taking drugs? Like,
I'm
is this
just-
something Karen and I should look up, or actually?
I'm just telling you that there was
I just don't.
Ugg drugs.
I just want to make sure it's real. That's all, Kenny.
Okay,
I just,
go look. You guys can hop on, type in Ugg drugs, look under images. You'll probably find the t-shirts in gray. I think the happy face was yellow and obviously black, kind of like my Batman shirt sort of thing.
Okay. All right.
Okay, no, I'm mixing up the CNE with the Royal Agricultural Fair, like the
Oh
Royal.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to the CNE.
So do me a favor. So before we get too far, so where's Brampton compared to where's Toronto? Like where's Brampton? Let's just go right to that. Like where the hell's Brampton?
Yeah,
Have I
it's
been to
like-
Brampton, Phil?
Toronto. Yeah, you complained all the way there.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's the worst. Seriously, don't go anywhere with him, Karen. He's the worst. Like, you can't take him anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, Brampton is just a big suburb, like a big, fast-growing kind of suburb of Toronto, and like the Loblaws head office is there. Like, there's a lot of head offices, warehouse. Like, I'm sure there's like an Amazon office.
But then I've been to Brampton
there
before
is.
because I know where Loblaw's head office
Yeah,
is, and I know all that.
yeah.
Okay, I've been there
Yeah,
before then.
Yeah.
So I grew up there, and my parents are still there, like in the house I grew up in. And
cool.
I have 3 brothers; they're all there too. But I moved out here to go to university, so I went to UBC. And I had never been to Vancouver before. I just didn't want to live in Brampton anymore. Like, and I just decided to take it to like an extreme. And I was in this, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I had this like entrepreneurial bone, but I didn't have an idea or the confidence or whatever. So when I applied to schools, there was like science, journalism, like the broad spectrum.
Right.
And then decided on business because it was like the most general thing that I could do. And I'm really glad I did that now. But at the time I was very, very confused.
It's all good. So why Vancouver though? Like why not? If you're in Brampton, like even if you went to the U of T, that's like 2 different worlds.
Real answer is that I met someone, I took a gap year, and I met someone who had gone to UBC and loved it.
I loved UBC too. I did a million years before you, but lovely campus.
And that was really the only reason. It was like just a different place. I met someone who loved it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful university. So you did like solder now, I guess, right?
Yeah.
When I was there, it was just the Angus building. It was Bachelor of Commerce. That's what you did, and we didn't have solder yet.
Yeah, it was solder when I was there, like a really, and I found it a really intense place, like a very, very serious kind of competitive place. Yeah. So I don't have I'm sure the alumni, like they love to call me, but I don't have like strong,
no fond, warm feelings and
eyes. And not that I don't have good memories, and some of my best friends are from there, but I don't have like this like strong affiliation. I never lived on campus. I always commuted from downtown. And so, but I my first job out of school was literally a referral from a professor, so I was really lucky. It was
That's
like
okay though.
yeah.
So what did you study at UBC then? Marketing, or was it?
I studied real estate finance. So I went to Sauder and
Oh
then
wow.
used different
Yeah.
specializations. So I did real estate finance and international business, and I have like a minor in French. And I don't speak a word of French. Don't know how that happened, but
How'd you get a minor in French without speaking French?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, good for you. That's cool.
Um, but yeah, so I went into property management, project management, like real estate, kind of like asset management after school. And I really didn't love it. And that's really how Blume was born. Like Blume was like a creative outlet for me from like this career that I wasn't so obsessed with. And I was like trying to find my way out of it. And Blume, and that's where the name is from too. It's like about coming into yourself, living creatively, like living more intentionally. And so Blume is like basically my second job. My first job was this commercial real estate gig.
So truly your first job was out of university into commercial real estate.
Yeah.
And now you're selling Blume, which really to me, I don't see the connection with commercial real estate. It's a lot more nice and a little less.
I mean, what the connection was is that in commercial real estate, you do a ton of like relationship management. So you're constantly having coffees. And I was like not happy. So I like sort of started on this like wellness journey. Like I was at a kind of like didn't know who I was, didn't know what I wanted. And that was like sort of, you know, being in this industry where I didn't feel connected to the work and I didn't feel connected to the type of people and all that sort of stuff. And so Blume was born out of it as me like almost like in a reinvention of what I wanted life to look like. And also just like over caffeinated, like the whole, it's like very like corporate. So it's like having 5 cups of coffee a day is sort of like this point of pride, like water cooler talk. And so, yeah, it's born out of it, but more as like this antithesis, as the anti.
As the anti sort of that side.
Yeah.
Which really, truly, if you look at it, that would definitely be about as close to anti that as you're going to get.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like I often like poo-poo that experience, but you know, so many I got to know budgets, I got to know relationship management, I got to know sales.
Absolutely.
And I had an amazing boss too, like a boss.
That's awesome.
So, and someone who I'm like still in touch with and think about as a mentor. So there's lots to be grateful for.
Well, plus you got to know what you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, right? I mean, learning what you don't like is just as important sometimes as learning what you do like.
Yeah.
And I think like something, you know, there are things I don't like doing for Blume too.
For sure.
But you have to find the positive in anything that you do. And I think
for sure. Well, as long as the positives outweigh, I mean, it's like life has got shit in it. And that's just what happens. That's so what. But as long as your positive outweighs the negatives, well, who cares? Yeah, it's part of life. I mean, life's not always a field of flowers. It's just what it is. Shit happens.
Very true.
So did your folks doing anything sort of, or your brothers, like anybody in the family had done anything sort of in CPG retail kind of thing, or is this like Karen because she just couldn't stand?
My grandfather, he did have a CPG product, which you can still find in like Home Depot, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he did rain gutters. So he had like a company that sold rain gutters. It's not
no way.
It's not
cool.
Our family anymore, but
yeah,
like there is like some sort of like entrepreneurial past there with my grandfather. That's how, like, my mom was Danish, my grandfather's Danish. That's how they got to Canada. It was basically like trying to bring that business here, and it never really, like, I think it like, and you know, this is like a generation apart kind of thing,
right?
So
yeah.
I never really like got the full story. I don't know if anyone in the family has the full story. I think it was like a bit of a thing in Denmark, which is a really small country. So I don't know what a bit of a thing there means, but it never really like took off the same way here in Canada. And so there is like, you know, somewhere
in the back there are some genes.
You've got a
kind
recessive
of
retail genes.
Yeah. Get the generation.
Somewhere in there. But my dad, he was an accountant. My mom's an accountant. My brothers are like all in totally different fields. Like one's in finance, one's like a personal trainer. Like it just like totally across the gamut, like different.
Totally different.
But
Yeah.
three within money, like three, two accountants and a finance guy.
Yeah, business.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like there's like a business element. And to my parents' credit, like when I came home and I was like, I want to quit this stable job and make beetroot lattes, my parents were like, cool. They had no idea. I think they still don't understand.
They still don't know what you do, right?
Yeah, they still like,
Yeah.
if I went over there and I was like, can you make me a beetroot latte, they'd be like, they would have trouble putting it together kind of thing. But like always super supportive, like emotionally supportive. And I think like they probably have drawers full of it. Every time they see it, they buy it, but they don't really like know what it's good for, sort of thing.
They just know that their child is doing this, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
They're just
very,
happy.
very supportive. Yeah. So
But that's amazing though. If they don't really know and they're buying it when they see it.
yeah.
I think
Like the house is full of that. Like that warms my heart.
Seriously.
I think that's amazing.
That's awesome.
When we launched at Loblaws, like I kind of like saved going to see it with my parents. Like we went to Superstore for the first time together.
Yeah.
And it's really special to have people like that behind you. So yeah.
Well, it's a proud moment for them too. I mean, because most times, really and truly, if I don't know what your parents, I think they're all the same. Is the first question is, so what do you actually do? And you know what the question's for is because their friends are asking them, so what are the kids doing? Yeah. And they'll get to Karen, they'll say, well, what is she doing? And the folks will look and think, we don't really know.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's the thing. Like even my partner, like if you ask me what he does for work, I know the company name, but I don't really know what he does every day. He's going to work. I'm sure.
Hopefully he's going to work and doing something.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
So,
he brings those golf clubs with him every day, but it's got to be part of work. I don't really.
I never see him do anything, so I'm assuming he's just left it all at work. Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So do they? What was the reaction? Like, because I kind of get that too, right? Is you start to see your child's product on shelf, right? But then like to see it, like, because Loblaws is.
That's a big deal. I mean, seriously,
every
Canada,
parent understands Loblaws, right? Like, like when you get to little stores, kind of, sort of, but then Loblaws is like.
I think like they were. It's funny too because there's like a typo in Blume's name. So actually on shelf right now, we went to have this like really magical experience and it spells like boom, like B-U-M-E. And it's like
that's awesome.
It's one of those things where it's like nothing is ever like
never perfect.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Like it's just like to-do list extension.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were super proud and it was like a really nice moment. And I think it's like so easy for us to like also slide by those wins. Like for me, like I knew about Loblaws back, retail is so slow. So knew about it back in like February.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of already like done my celebration of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was really nice to see it through their eyes and like actually take the time because you're always like, okay, well,
what's next?
How do you get Sobeys? How do you get Metro? How do you get like, what's
next?
Yeah.
And typically, once you celebrate, and by the time it comes in, it's almost really anticlimactic because you've already spent all the energy of celebrating that. You're definitively on the next, or you're worried about how to get it off the shelf in Loblaws. You haven't even got to the shelf yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's like there's always kind of like, what's the next thing? And I think that's just like the nature of the game too. So it's something that I'm like coming to terms with, that's just like how my brain works. And maybe I'm lucky that it works that way. You see, you're trying to see around the corner.
Well, it's working for you, right? You're doing your thing. You're getting wins. So
yeah, it's so funny when people say that to me because you never feel like it is on the inside, like
right.
you never feel like it's like 100% like, I guess it's some version of imposter syndrome or some version of skepticism, but yeah, I'm really like Blume is definitely not what I thought it would be when it started. Like what I thought Blume would be was like this little side hustle, you sell a couple blends on the side and it's like this like creative outlet while I was like working my real estate job. And I just became so obsessed with it so quickly. I should never gamble, I think, because I'll just kill.
You're that person, right? It's all in.
Any reward, and I'm just like,
all in.
Yeah. So I think like it's already surpassed what I thought it would be originally, and the dream keeps getting bigger. And what I'm trying to do now in the journey is just appreciate the wins, take time to appreciate the wins, and like not constantly move the goalpost. But yeah, that's kind of like where
But
I
like
am.
you're saying, that's philosophically wonderful and sounds great, but it is hard to do. Like you said, if you look at it, then I mean, you should have been celebrating the Loblaws from the time that they said yes to the time that the PO goes in, the time the first truck's leaving to the work. Like you don't even, but you don't, because it's not part. It's sort of not how the game gets set up.
No,
Like you got the win, even though it hasn't completed, it's done. And you do forget. So I mean, I think the fact you actually took your parents, and I think is really actually wonderful,
Yeah,
because
I think that's amazing.
because I think it, when you look at them and they're smiling, and that proud, if you're ever a parent one day, you'll appreciate it even more, is that when you look and you see that smile, and that smile is like, see, that's my baby. Look, what he or she did. That's,
yeah.
wow, look at this. And then they're looking for their friends. Now they really want to go back. So what do you do again? So how do I explain this to Auntie Joan and Peter down the street? Like, what's the story I told them?
Yeah, no, it was great to see it through a different lens. And now it's like, yeah, you're right. The next step is like, how do you make it successful there and make sure people know it's there, and hopefully it's solving a problem for people. And yeah.
That's what you hope, right? I mean, it's good. The product's cool. So I mean, we haven't even talked about the product yet, but again, I didn't want you to have to do the same podcast 500 times. Otherwise, it's not fun. I mean, you're going to talk about the same things all the time, but you may as well go to that. So like you're sitting in the real estate place. You're not massively thrilled. You're over caffeinated.
Yeah.
And you decide what.
I mean, separately, my dad's Indonesian, so I grew up with, turmeric, ginger, but more is like a shot. Like more is like this like antidote, like the very medicinal. And so I had like a base for really like believing in superfoods. And like whether or not I called them superfoods, like I didn't call them superfoods, but I had this base of like natural ingredients can be healing. And finding it pretty inaccessible. Like if you walk down a supplement aisle, it's like, take this, combine it with this, put 10 things in your smoothie. Everything's really expensive. It's kind of like hard to understand. And most of it, you're like, choking down supplements in the morning, trying to just like get through, like you believe they work, but like you're just like trying to get through it sort of thing.
Right.
And so Blume was like sort of this like combination of all these problems that I saw in my own wellness journey. Like I wasn't a nutritionist. I needed it to be super easy. I didn't like taking like capsules and supplements, and I wanted something that was more like an experience. And then I just like had way too much caffeine and was feeling the impact of it. So like being over caffeinated, it's a stimulant, right? So if you're feeling stressed, it can like stimulate that anxiety and like all sorts of different things. And and then I was like unhappy too with work and life at that moment. So like I was feeling all those things like magnified. And so Blume is really like a low caffeine, no caffeine option that gives you functional benefits from clean ingredients. So we don't use like you can read our ingredient list. They're all ingredients that have been used for like centuries in Ayurvedic companies for so like things you can like that are proven and like there's studies behind, but without it being like, you'll never find on a package like the science of turmeric. It's really about, a flavor first and experience first.
Enjoy it. Just enjoy it, and you're going to get some good health benefits.
Yeah, just enjoy it and learn a few things about a few different cool ingredients, but it's not about like we really don't approach it from this like clinical space. And it just really quickly resonated. I think there were a lot of people who drink coffee more for like the cultural aspect of it. Like, it's like what you do in the morning. It's what you do with a friend. It's, it's what you do to get up from your desk. At that time, everyone was really like always in offices, and it's for you to get a break versus it being like, I do love coffee actually, which is like the irony of it. Like I love specialty coffee. Like we've got some amazing roasters in Vancouver, and I do drink coffee in the morning, but I just can't have a lot of it. And if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, if you have anxiety, as you get older, it's harder to manage caffeine. Like about 65% of North Americans manage their caffeine. And that doesn't mean they don't drink coffee. It means they don't have it after a certain time.
Yep.
And all this is like discovered post Blume being founded. Like, it's not like there was like this amazing business plan where I was like, oh, look at this untapped audience. So, like, it was more like, I can't have this anymore at this time.
Yeah, I need something different.
Something different. And then realizing there's like religions that don't have caffeine. There's pregnant, like half the population is more sensitive to caffeine.
Right.
And then it just like really organically struck a chord, because I think people weren't used to seeing healthy foods in such an aesthetic, fun way that you wanted to engage with. Coffee is like beautifully branded. Beer is beautifully branded.
Right.
Beauty products are beautifully branded, but supplements often aren't, and natural foods are often aren't. And so it was this like sort of like perfect combination of those things. And so, I just got totally addicted to that journey of meeting cafe owners that wanted a golden milk on their menu then, and like talking to customers that loved it. Like, it was like this positive feedback loop that happened so fast, and it was so addictive. And then I ended up quitting my job like about a year into Blume, because it was just like the right time to do it. I was, how old was I? I was like 27, single. I didn't have kids. I didn't have, I felt really good about living in my parents' basement if I needed to do that. And so it was just like
the timing was right.
The right time to take a chance on myself. And I'm super grateful I did.
What was your first flavor?
It was the turmeric blend. Sort of like what I grew up with was something called Jamu. And, lots of different cultures have their version of turmeric elixirs, but it was sort of like a North American modernized take on it so that everybody could enjoy it. And turmeric was really having like a moment at that time too.
Right.
So, that was the first product. We still have it. But now our top sellers are like matcha coconut, a lavender blend that's for sleep, and my personal favorite is a London Fog that's decaf and has no sugar in it. So most of the blends you can like sweeten to taste, control how much sweetener you want.
Right.
And none of them have any refined sugars or artificial flavors.
Oat milk chai is my favorite.
Oh, that's nice.
I love it. I really do. I love it.
That's great. Yeah. That one is like, I think, a really good example of what we're trying to do. Most people, when they choose a chai, like often it's because either they don't drink coffee or they're limiting their caffeine, but it's made from a syrup. If you ask for a half sweet, you're getting half the flavor too, like half the spices.
All right. This episode is brought to you by CHFA. Thank you to our sponsors, the Canadian Health Food Association. There's a show coming up, CHFA Now. It's going to be in Toronto. It'll be Thursday, September 21st. And then
Through Sunday the 24th.
Through Sunday the 24th. And this show, like, it used to be just, like it was never just a trade show, but lots of people came to walk the show and just see new brands. But the show has just taken on a whole life of its own. Kenny and I were just looking at the number of things, right, that you can and should do at the show. There's stuff going from Thursday the 21st all the way through to Sunday. There's some really big things. The regulatory group is going to go through all the NHP stuff that you've been hearing about: cost recovery, compliance verification, labeling updates, plastic sustainability stuff, all of that stuff. They're going to be going through on the Thursday.
That one, Phil, though, that's for CHFA members and associates only. But
correct.
it also it's probably another reason why you should really consider becoming a CHFA member anyway.
Yeah. If there's ever a year that you wanted to do it, this is probably the year, because of all these things and the amount of coverage that CHFA has had on this stuff. But then on the Friday too, right? There's Canada US organic equivalency. There's Think Like a Futurist, so how to turn trends into tangible results, which is super cool. There's gene editing for genetic modification, in case you're worried about that. If you want to think about collagen, there's a session on collagen. There's, gut health and the role that the gut plays in immune and mental health. Gosh, there's so many
There's
things.
tons of stuff. I guess what it is, see, to me, if I look at it from what I was when I was a buyer,
Yeah.
when I used to do this show, it really was focusing on the Saturday, Sunday, and it was really about doing this show, right? When I left buying and started going into the other side, which was all sides, it really became much more important to actually know what was going on the like, for example, on this one, on the Thursday, Friday, because the amount of lecture, the amount of quality lecture you get these days is unbelievable. The show is always going to be the show, and it's always the fun part. And you should be going to CHFA regardless, just because the networking, the fact they'd advocate, the fact that there's just so much cool stuff always happening. But if you really want to take full advantage of the show, you really need to participate. Thursday would be good this year because what the topic is, which is talking all about regulatory, which is just a nightmare this year. And if you really can get up to date on that, get it. But the beauty now is the Friday is packed.
Yeah, there's so
many things to learn and so many things to see. Like, I just think the old days, if you're still of the mindset that the show is just the trade show, you've really got to get off that one. There is so much more that's there. Even at the end of the day, you got CHFA Trends, which last year was Lindsay and Aaron talking about some research they did and all the things they're learning. And then Launchpad follows that, which is really cool. So if you're a small brand and you're not part of Launchpad, you'll see maybe what buyers or what you'll typically get asked or graded on when you're presenting. And then the social mixer for the member mixer for the social aspect of the evening.
There's
if you're a member and associate, you get to hang out together, and it's a great way to catch up with people.
There's also Incubator Alley, which is where you get to see all the new brands as well. And so that's a really big thing. I know for retailers, that's a really hot part, but I think for everybody to see what new up and coming brands are, what the new ideas are.
If you want to stay atop the natural health industry in Canada, you got to do the two. You got to do this one and you got to do the other. Really and truly, I would really recommend for people to go through. You should really consider becoming members of the CHFA anyway. Like, you really should. You really need to be part of these communities that are out there defending and sticking up for your businesses, because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't look like government's doing a lot to help us. So get on board.
Make sure. So September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, CHFA weekend.
Yep.
It's here in Toronto. Make sure you sign up. So the link will be in the show notes below.
And we'll see you at the show.
chfanow.ca. Make sure you go and sign up, become a member, sign up for the show. Really important to do.
And find us there. We'll see you at the show.
Yeah, we'll definitely see you at the show.
Most of the spice taste is actually coming from like a chai flavor,
right,
or like cinnamon flavor, ginger flavor. And then like, it's just not super customizable because it's from a syrup. And of course there's no like actual benefits to it, when ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg all have really healthy like components to them. Like cinnamon is like actually good for you. And so our blend is it uses a decaf black tea extract, so it's decaffeinated. It has all the real spices, so cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, fennel, all the things. And then it also has milk thistle in it, which is great for your liver and detoxing. So, but most people don't even know that there's like milk thistle in it. Like, it's not part of why you buy it. You're just like buying a chai that's decaf and low sugar, or has actually no sugar in it. So it's just like this. Like, we know it's good for you. There's like, it works well with the blend. And we like put it in there, so there's like benefits, you know what I mean? But we're never like, it's like this really friendly way to be introduced to superfoods. So,
well, first and foremost, obviously, it's the experience. It's a taste. You want it to taste good, and you want someone to sit down, not knowing, I guess, all the other stuff, and it's saying, "Wow, this was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed
I don't want to explain it. I honestly don't.
I just want to enjoy it,
because to me, like, some of this stuff, right? Like, you start. It's almost like in the 80s and 90s, when everyone drank some sort of weird fruit smoothie or something that had celery in it, you had to explain it because it turned out ultra green or some ugly color and it tasted awful, and then everyone has to say, oh, it's super healthy for you, that's why you should drink it. But like this stuff, right? Even the lavender, I don't have to explain anything. I'm drinking it because I want to drink it, right? And then you kind of know what it looks like, and so nobody asks me. So I don't have to. Even the cacao turmeric blend, my neighbor up the street drinks this one. So I don't love turmeric, but I actually don't mind the cacao turmeric blend. But I also like that I can walk around with that, and nobody goes, "What are you drinking? Some sort of healthy drink? Like, what are you trying?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I'm drinking something I like. Just leave me alone because I want to drink. Like I like
we
that.
do,
So
we do have like, education barriers with it
Yeah.
too. Like, why should I drink this?
yeah,
Like being compared, our pumpkin spice being compared to like a Starbucks pumpkin spice, like they are really really different. Like one has 40 grams to 50 grams of sugar, the other one has 2 grams. So they are like fundamentally going to taste.
One has true spices, one has things that labs build.
And so I think like there's like a certain customer who's always going to want the syrup. Like I was just at a trade show, Coffee Fest in LA. Like I got back earlier this week, and there was Blume, and then there was like 12 stalls that were all like different syrup variations. Like there's like, and I think like the idea is like the people who are looking for alternatives, that segment is still small but growing. And we want to be like their favorite solution pick. And as people like catch up with that movement and are looking for, healthier alternatives, we'll be there ready, waiting for them. But there's like, I love chocolate. Who doesn't love a syrupy drink? Like, have the ice cream. Like, I think that's like another piece of Blume that I love, is that it's not a judgmental, like I think it's like a really kind community, and it's not it's not like you can't have that and villainizing the opposite.
Right.
It's like, here's the alternative. It's going to scratch the itch. It is different, but it's going to scratch the itch. But like, no, like it's not about like perfection.
Yeah.
And like, that's, something I think missing from the wellness industry in general is like, I'm not a wellness influencer. I'm not, doing yoga backflips and drinking celery juice morning, noon, and night. This is like, Blume is like something that I can add into my lifestyle that doesn't take away from it, that is like getting me closer to healthier eating and clean ingredients and learning about superfoods. So it's like a very gentle approach to,
which is where most of us reside, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at most things in today's world, there are 3 sides. 2 on the polars of both. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Anything, go from politics to anything, are really loud, and you have to pick a side. Where the vast majority of us live in the middle spot, right? Where we just, I'll drink things because first off, I have to enjoy it, and your product's easy because it's not hard to enjoy. And then if I do get all these extra benefits, well, shit, why wouldn't I go for the ride? But I don't have to be pulled down. As soon as you start doing that, like the vast majority just walk, because I'm not interested in being to sort of the villainized or the other way. I don't want to be that. Like, just let me be. Just give me a good product that's really tasty. I smile when I drink it. And then, if I get all these health benefits, shit, why wouldn't I go for this ride? It's awesome.
I actually, at this trade show, I met somebody who was with, I don't know how you say it, Guayaki, the yerba mate company.
Oh, the yerba mate, I know that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he was with the competitor of this brand years ago, like before Guayaki really took off. And so their marketing, I thought this was really interesting. Their marketing was like, and they were actually first to market with the yerba mate in the can format, this competitor. And it was all about like replacing coffee, like coffee's bad, villainizing coffee, replaced with this. And then Guayaki comes in, and it's more like friendly alternative, have it in the afternoon, like replace your second cup, like more friendly. And Guayaki totally takes over the market with that messaging. Ultimately, pretty similar products. One actually had the first mover advantage, but it was really about like fitting it into your, like, you changing what people do today or villainizing what they do today is not how you make friends. No. And so I thought that was like kind of interesting. And it wasn't like we did that as a like a genius marketing positioning move. That's just like who we are as people, like the team. Like we're not like, yeah, if that's working for you, why would you change? Like if you drinking that works for you, then
do your thing.
And do your thing. Yeah. But I think for most people it's not, which is why we have like the health crisis we have today. Letting people realize that for themselves and educate themselves, and then being a pain point solver is how we're approaching it.
I like it.
Love it.
No, it's
Love
good.
it. Can I ask you, I'm curious, because you were talking about doing this as a side hustle when you first started.
Yeah.
Because that's a really common question we get a lot, is when did you know, or when did you decide to kind of do this full time?
That is such like a deeply, I think, like, it's so personal to everyone. There is no perfect time. I am not that risk adverse as a person. I've realized, quitting my job, I felt good about. Moving across the country to a place I'd never been to, I felt good about. And I think, like, my right time is not going to be the same as everyone else's. The reason I quit was really like, I wasn't doing a good job at my like regular job anymore. Like I had really, like, I really saw the opportunity in one place, and not that I thought it would be what it is today, but I saw that like there was traction and I loved it and I felt more passionate about it and I was happier, and that's what I moved towards. So we had done about 200,000 in sales at that point. Like it was like about a year old and about 200K in sales. And to me, that was like
huge.
Yeah, it was huge. I never thought it would do that in a year. And I was doing it kind of like in the mornings before work and the evenings after work. And started to kind of like fail on both sides because it was too much. So that's when I knew it was like right for me, because I wasn't like showing up the way I wanted to in my like in either place sort of thing.
Right.
And like I was really lucky that I had family support, in the sense that like I knew they would backstop me. Like it wasn't like I was gonna like, if it didn't work out, I can move home.
There's a safety net still there, right?
There's a safety net there. And and again, I didn't like have kids. I was single. It was like the right time for me. But I think that it is important to have some sort of like market traction. So we had customers who were reordering, we had people who loved it and that it was solving a problem for, and all of those things we knew before I quit my job. Yeah. And like we knew that the numbers worked. We knew like there were like these basic things that I'm really glad that we had sussed out before I fully like went all in, because I think it would have been really stressful if we didn't have that. And not to say that like since then the messaging's been updated, it's new flavors, like the brand's been redefined, the packaging is different, all the things. But we had enough to say that there's like something here that could work. And I think like if I did anything differently, I would love, even now, like what does work mean for me? Like, because, now you're like on LinkedIn and there's someone getting to 100 million, and like, success should not be defined by the industry or by, other players in similar roles or whatever. Right. It has to be like personally defined. And I still struggle with that, because technically I've reached success for what I originally set out for. Right. And so, but obviously I've like changed what I think it should be and what it should be, what the goalpost is. And so I think that that's the most important thing, is like having some sort of roadmap of where you're going to take it, because all that would make you so much happier along the way. And like your decisions would be clearer along the way if you knew, like, where you want to take it. So that's something I still feel like, I feel really clear in what the products are, the positioning, what I want the team to feel like, what I want Blume to show up as for our customer, what pain points we want to solve. But like in terms of actual business goals, like that feels like less clear.
I wonder if it's how clear it is for anyone. I know people are very good at putting all that down, but typically it's what you sort of went at the beginning. It's typically a number, and they'll define the success. Well, if I hit 100 million, if I hit 150 million, if I sell for $1 billion, whatever those numbers are, it's I don't know how that's hard to do. I think that's a tough one.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Like
the number 100 million, which is thrown around a lot in CPG. Like if you look at
today it is. That's what everybody seems to be getting.
It's
Tomorrow morning, everybody's doing
it's
100
the
million.
goalpost, right?
Yeah.
It's what everybody.
Going for 100 million, and
Yeah.
that number to me does not feel like
I don't even know what it means.
Real number, like
Yeah.
and so I hope no investor that invested in Blume.
We're gonna get there. We're going for it.
Oh.
So I think that like I don't want that number to come from like a LinkedIn post that I saw, and I think that that's what I need to do too. Like success for us has to be in like the pride we feel in the product we're putting out, the connections we're building with the community, and then you can attach like goalposts to that.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a really interesting industry the more I'm in it, and I think like if you listen to my like some of my previous podcasts, like that I'm not from CPG, right? Like some people go into this being like, this is the path. I worked for Lay's, I worked for Nestle or whatever, and like I know like, and so working with Loblaws, it's my first time working with a grocery store, like really like we worked with like independents and boutiques, and it was like online business before. So I think like I'm learning as I'm going, and that's part of the fun for me because I love to learn. I'm a growth oriented person, and Blume, like when I think about why I do Blume, like it is the biggest opportunity for me for personal growth. Like to learn to be a leader, to learn to be a team manager, to define product innovation. Like where would I do that? If I always say that I'm the least employable person if I try to go anywhere else. So, because like I'm not specialized in anything, right?
Oh,
That's
like, not true. You can do real estate. You can.
Okay, well, I've eliminated that as an option.
Generalists are where the world needs to be at in a lot of respects. So you are probably more than you think. What I find more interesting about it is that I personally, this is just for personal, I like the approach you take in that this industry, and I've said this to Phil numerous times. We've said it on the podcast numerous times. Like because I've been in this way too long, and I remember the days like when I first started going to Expo. So like in the early 2000, and literally I tell everybody, it was only upstairs that one level, and it was 3/4 full, and it was busy.
Yeah, I went to Expo for the first time
an Expo now is like 20 times what it was 25 years ago. But the industry has changed. The way you talk was sort of what we used to talk 20 years ago. People were in it, and it was more about this personal journey or the story or trying to fulfill these gaps that you see or perceive are needed to be filled, right? For whatever reason, typically for health reasons. Now it just seems that the number is all we talk about. Everybody starts, and I'll use everybody. I'll do an absolute. Is I've got the idea, 100 mil.
Yeah,
that's it, and that's what you define as success. And if you don't get there, it just seems to be that there should be more to the game or more to what you're trying to do, because you can get there, maybe not, but you can still enjoy the ride. Like you seem to be enjoying this, whether you're at 10 million, 15 million, 100 million, you seem to be actually enjoying this game right now.
Most of the time.
That's life, right?
No,
there are going to be moments for sure.
Sure, what the hell?
Even us. Right?
I don't want to take this as like that's wrong either. Just like
it isn't.
It's like everybody's on their own,
whatever journey you're on.
Yeah, whatever journey you're on. And I think like what I'm feeling is like I kind of got sucked into that a little bit, and that I want to get back to like what Blume was to me. It was like this creative opportunity, this way to live more intentionally, this way to solve health problems for myself. Like oddly, like being in Blume and being in startup mode, you make less time for self-care. You make less time for fitness. You make less time for eating healthy because you're busy in trying to build this thing that is supporting all those things. And so I think like at some point in the last year, I've had this like realization of the hypocrisy of that, and like really trying to get back to like me enjoying the journey, leaning into what I want out of it, and it not being about a number. Although I don't think it's like wrong to have that.
The number needs to be there.
it's just not how I want to motivate myself.
get it.
Because if you don't get to that, then are you a failure? Like, so anyways.
To me,
No.
I think the things I love the most about what you said is the, that the comment about not being there for both goals. So you were working and then you were trying to do Bloom, right? And then you got to a point where you weren't really present in either, like you weren't really getting either done.
You're
in a way that
doing
was
neither
making you
well per
happy.
se.
And
Right.
that to me, that's the most definitive answer I've heard from anyone that makes sense to me, because I think one is deeply personal, but two is because you are about learning in your lifetime. This is, what I heard was, I'm unhappy with what I'm like, how I'm going about doing the things in my life. So I need to make sure that I stay happy. Right. So to me, that's a big thing, right? Like,
Well, I don't want to be like, the one thing I feel very clear about is I don't want to be a passenger for my life. Every day you can choose to be a passenger or a driver. And I think like for me, the best days come from where like, these are the things I'm going to do. This is what I want out of life, and like where you execute against that versus, like this meeting invite comes in, there's this pull of your attention. I have to stay late to get this done, so I'm not going to go to the gym. Like I'm going to end up eating like fast food or whatever because I didn't make time for myself to like nourish my body properly. And so it's like, you have one life to live, right? And like, and the startup journey, like, there are these amazing stories like Collie Power and Smart Suites that happened in 5 years or whatever, it's 3 to 5 years, where it was like these huge exits that happened so quickly, but most are not like that. And so like, I work with Mike Fata, he's like my advisor, he built Managed Harvest, and it's over like years.
Oh, that was 25 years, 30 years.
That success story. And that's a much more common story.
Exactly.
And like, I think most people are familiar with the story where he like went on a personal health journey. That's how he found it. And he came out of it, healthier than ever too. And I think like that story appeals to me in, where it's like your business is like this vessel for personal development, for improvement, for learning, for growth, versus it being in this time box where it has to happen in a certain amount of time. And I think it's just like, that pressure often comes from raising external capital. People want their money back. They need a certain return on their money. It needs to happen at a certain pace. You hear these huge success stories that happen fast, which are amazing, like not taking away from them at all, but like that you think that that's what it has to look like. But everybody's story looks so different. And like it's odd because like very recently I've like sort of developed like a bit of a following on LinkedIn, and I myself am trying to stay away from it because I really want like the journey to come from me and from my team about what we think success looks like versus it being this comparison. And so yeah, anyways, I don't know if it was useful or interesting, but this just
I think we both find it interesting because we do talk about this quite a bit. Like even if you go back to like a Fata thing, even Mike's, even though it took him a lot longer, it's still not the norm in that most companies don't get to those levels. To be honest with you, most don't. Right. And again, it's not a judgment thing. I don't know if your whole intention is you want to have an idea and your whole thing is $100 million and that's all you're going to focus on. God bless you. Do whatever you want to do. If that makes you happy, then fine. I light it up. Do you. I do like your approach though. I like the fact that you're trying to pull back and ground it back more to you. What makes me happy? How do I want to do this? What's going to make me a happy person at the end? Having a great team, a great product, filling that void, filling the niche. You wake up feeling
really
like I want to do work. I'm going to enjoy my day.
Yeah.
Or most of it.
And I think versus it being me, it's also often like a founder journey, like founder facing journey. Like there are people on this team who've been with it for like 3.5 years at this point. Like the company's only like 5 years old. Like the first employee of Blume is still here. And so like how does it like what does she want out of it? How does like what does our community want out of it? Like what just trying to take like a more holistic approach.
Yeah. What kind of community do you want to build? Like, who do you want to be around you?
Yeah.
Totally.
Right. Because it's nice to have, nice to have a family around you that you
I
actually
love
really
it.
enjoy.
I love what
I
you're
like,
doing.
I like this. I think
It's really
I'm with
amazing.
Phil. Like, I mean, good on you. Seriously, good on you.
Well, we'll see how it all turns out.
You know what? It'll turn out as it turns out. But you know what? You're going into it, I think, with sort of for lack of a better, sort of the right way to do it, in my opinion. Right? Everybody can do their own thing.
I think it's the right way for you, which is the most important.
Which is the most important
right?
part.
It doesn't really matter
No,
the rest of it, right? It's
good
what
for
works
you.
for you. What's like you're focused on the community. You're worried about,
Yeah, and it is working too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, like this past month, we added like 100 doors, like outside of Loblaws, kind of thing too.
That's huge.
And so I think like it not just being the pursuit of like an end goal, but it being about like building community, solving pain points, making the products better. Like it connects with our audience in a different way too.
Right.
So yeah, anyways, that's what's happening at Blume HQ. Just like a bunch of life, like always. I spend all my time like kind of like pondering the meaning of life. That's why I was busy, that's why I couldn't get on here faster. I was just like, contemplating the world.
I got too much life to do. Life is just taking all my time.
That's awesome.
Good for you,
We
Karen.
love it so much.
No, good for you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
You're a treat to have on. Like, I'm really happy
really
you've finally could do this for us. I really think it's great.
Yeah, it's always so nice to connect, and I'm so glad that we're all connected, and it's such a great community. It honestly is like so supportive and uplifting, and I hope that there was some good takeaways in there rather than like the rambles of a tired woman. But
no, not at all.
Not at all.
We loved it. We really
I
loved
really
it. Yeah.
enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were looking forward to talking to you. So I mean, this
we really were.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we got the chance to.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited for it to come out, and let me know if if there's anything I can do to support you too.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay, take care of yourself.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
seriously, that was
awesome.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Honestly,
Yeah.
And what we'll do is, so Phil usually just adds on best way to get a hold of you, or if they want to,
we'll kind of leave
try
your
to connect with
down
you.
below. So we'll leave
So we'll put down the
LinkedIn
webpage
and
and your
webpage
LinkedIn
like
and all that.
So,
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this with us. Like seriously, I mean, I know after a while, like it's like even for us sometimes, like you could interview people. I think it's our 325th or so, right? Yeah. But you're always trying to make it different. Like I don't want you to hear the same questions every single time. Like, because you want to talk about something else.
Well, right? The thing for me is that I never like. I want to make sure that people are getting value from it, and I don't feel like an expert. Like I don't know if you've gotten that from like our talk, that I don't feel like a CPG expert where it's like, hey, follow my playbook. I'm just like, making the best decision I can with the information I have day to day. And I don't present myself that way, whereas I think maybe some people do. And so so I always feel like I want to be careful about the podcasts that I do go on, because I just want to make sure that I'm like fairly representing like where we are, who I am, and that it's like a good fit both ways.
I think you did that.
I
think it was incredibly insightful.
I think it is too. And I think what I hope people get out of this is, I don't really care if they like Blume or don't like Blume or whatever it is. I really would like them to get a perspective. Your perspective on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to view business in general and how you're trying to incorporate life into it is, I think, because there's a lot of people out there really right now, especially in our industry, where the Fadas and the Changs and those stories of the 1 in 100,000 who are hitting it like way out of the park, they're not the norm. They're not the norm. And if your whole intention is to do that, it's a really not a fun. It can be not a fun game.
We're hearing that, right?
Right, because it's crippling. You're in the health industry, and what you were doing was killing you.
Unhealthy. Yeah.
But what are we doing?
Yeah. And I think like there's like a piece of that, and then there's a piece of just like like it kind of goes both ways, where you have to believe that it's possible. Like some people just
100%.
believe. So those stories are really valuable, like to
100%.
hear that it is possible. But it also is like not the definition of success. And and like it's like finding the balance between those two things. Is, you know, I don't think I have like the answer to necessarily, but it's
I don't
what
think anybody does.
it's
It's
like
just nice to hear a different perspective.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's not the sex, and that's the definition.
is it different, or does everybody feel that way?
I don't know. I find that I find that how we define success as a society in general is based on a dollar.
Yeah.
If you sell for 100 million, you were successful. If you got to $10 million and that's where you sat, that wasn't very successful. You didn't grow. And yet I'd be looking at it. You do a $10 million business that's profitable. I'm sorry. I define business success as at least profitable, break even. Like I have to put some level of what success is. But anything after that, if you chose to stay at $10 million and you ran a business that you really enjoyed and you helped people and you filled a need, and that's as big as you got, oh, fuck, good on you.
Yeah.
Like, really, what do you want?
I think success should be a feeling.
Yeah.
And like that's how we define it.
Yeah.
And like, and maybe even the feeling of success needs to change to like I think like when I think success is like this perfection, completion, end goal, but challenge is like a normal part of life.
Exactly.
Challenge, pain, like learning, you know, steps back. Like what if that was part of our definition of success, is like you navigating those things? Like, would we all be happier for it? Maybe.
I think so.
I do
think
believe
the
so.
struggle
But
is part of it, right? Is learning to manage the struggle and then figuring out when not to try and kill yourself, right? To get to, you know, this place, right?
yeah, the success shouldn't be that I got the dollar, but basically now I'm dying because I completely abused my, you know, you mean you didn't sleep, you didn't eat well, like all the things you said, you didn't exercise. Well, shit. I mean, so was it successful? Really? You hit the dollar, but you're now, you know, you've got a time limit on the end. Is that define success? Not to me.
Not for me.
I don't know.
Not for me either, but I think like that's up to every
but that, again, it's a choice. You just success to you.
Yeah.
I just think so. If you're asking, like we went back, I think what you provided is just a perspective. It's just different. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's how you see it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that probably do need to hear it because they may be chasing a different thing that they don't realize, that say, well, if she thinks that's successful and I did too, well, maybe that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put more thought into this for sure, but I'm so glad we got to talk about
podcast. Your next podcast. I mean, I think it's important. I think because I do like I like where your mind's at. I do. I really do. I think you've got your shit together.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks,
You know?
Phil. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too, Karen.
Thanks,
Take
Karen.
care.
Bye.
Ciao.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. Too bad we didn't have it's too bad we didn't have that in the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Unless you can edit it in somehow. I don't know how you do that, but
I will. I'll probably I'll cut that part back in. So
yeah.
It was really cool. So.
I mean, or maybe just or maybe insert here is, you know, this wasn't part of the podcast, but really is, I think, what makes Karen really kind of special in a lot of ways, and probably someone, you know, I mean, you can do whatever you want in life, but if you're looking for someone to follow and a philosophy to follow within business, I mean, this is, in, like, again, it's my opinion, not the worst one to follow. Like, I think she's really trying to ground herself and have success be a much broader thing than just a dollar.
I love
which drives business, I guess. But anyway, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
I really love it. Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah. It's awesome. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.